Hello, this is Maria. I'm glad to find you here. Thank you for joining me in this mystery call, and thank you for watching this video. I hope it is of help to you. If it isn't, you can always go back and ask me on Ravelry. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. As you can see, for the purposes of this video, I'm using double-pointed needles to demonstrate the stitches. This doesn't mean that you need double-pointed needles. It's just easier for the camera to focus on and for me to keep my hands very close so that I can demonstrate them easily. So let's go to the stitch pattern. As you will see in your pattern instructions, you are required to cast on 2 stitches and start working on them. This row that we're going to work now is the 0 row in your pattern. What happens is this the pattern we are working on creates a fabric that is beautiful to look at on both sides. This isn't a actually reversible pattern. It's just beautiful on the wrong side as well as on the right side. So perhaps you'll decide which side is the right one for you. So I decided to start on a zero row, and when you finish working, you will see which one is the one you consider right or wrong. So on the 0 row, we have 2 KFB and knit 1. KFB is an increase you are, I believe, familiar with, but I'll just explain how it's done. I'm doing it the English way right now. I'm inserting my needle in order to knit. I do that. I pull the yarn through, but do not let the loop of the stitch fall off the needle. I just bring it close and insert 1 second time through the back loop and knit another stitch. Now I have 2 stitches out of 1, and then I knit 1. I turn my work, and now I have to work on row 1. On row 1, I'm required to KFB once again, and that's what I'll do. I don't see that very well, but now it is. Yes, it's through the back loop. So I did my KFB, and now I have to knit 1 and knit 1 below. What does that mean? I have a stitch here, and I have a small strand of yarn here, a bump, which is the stitch I worked on the row below. What I have to do is insert my needle here. This is a tricky part because it's the first row I'm working this way. I insert my needle here and through the stitch on my needle and yarn over and pull the yarn through both loops because it's the actual stitch I had on this needle and the loop of the row below. I'll demonstrate this once again. Now on row 2, I'll do it the continental way. I have to knit 1, knit 1 below. Now the bump is more visible here, at least I hope it is to you too. So I insert the needle in the row below and pull the yarn through both loops. Knit 1, KFB the continental style. Now, to work on row 3, I have to KFB. So that's what I'll do. I KFB. I knit 1. Then I knit 1 on the row below, inserting my needle on the row below. Knit 1 below. Make sure you pull the yarn out of both loops, the loop on the needle and the loop of the row below. Knit 1, knit 1 below. When you are on edge stitches like this one, perhaps it'll be easier to just bring both loops into this needle as if to SSK. I do that and pull the yarn through. It's the same effect, don't you worry. What this does is that it produces a fabric that is very much like the brioche stitch, one version of the brioche stitch. In fact, in Holland, in the Netherlands, they call both kinds of knitting like this. They call them patent stick, as Nancy Marchand says in her classes, and I think it's an easier way to introduce yourself into brioching. Now, on the next row, I have to knit 1, knit 1 below, knit 1, knit 1 below. I think it is very clear here. Knit 1 below. To the last 2 stitches. I knit the stitch before last and I KFB the last one. This happens on every even numbered stitch. I'm sorry, even numbered row. I'm very sorry, even numbered row. When you are on the odd numbered rows, you start with a KFB, oops, knit 1, and then knit 1 below, knit 1, knit 1 below, knit 1, knit the last one below. That's the kind of fabric you are expected to create. I'll take a picture of mine when it's larger so that you can see how fluffy this becomes. A tip here, if you are working this kind of stitch for the first time, please try not to use very slippery yarn. Or if you do, try to use bamboo needles or rosewood needles, for example, because slippery yarns or slippery needles do not help you work this stitch. That's it. Hi again. This is Maria speaking to you, and now I'm going to face another whole situation. Let's pretend that this yellow triangle here is the one you have worked on in the first part of the first clue, the one with the, I think you can see the brioche-like fabric here. It's fluffy and beautiful. It's the yellow part, and then the pattern says that you have to change needle sizes, which I did. If you remember, I worked this part with US, I don't know, it's US size 6 or 7, I'm not sure. Anyway, it's 5 millimeters in European sizes, 5 millimeters circular, and this is 6 millimeters, which is one whole size up. We do this because we need to keep the same gauge throughout the whole pattern. You will see why afterwards. Anyway, I decided to show this in 2 colors so that you can easily see how it's done, because it shows, of course, those of you who work the single color version will equally understand it and do it using just one color. So now let's pretend that these yellow stitches here were 59. Then I went ahead and created 3 more. I casted on 3 more using the new yarn and these needles. I knit through all this row, and then I cast on some more. You will cast on as many as the pattern calls for. Now I'm ready to work row 2. So row 1 looks like this, okay? And I'm going to work row 2, which is a purl row, which means I have to purl every stitch to the end. And this is what I'm doing. When you've arrived here, perhaps it's the first stitch you create after you have worked along the row. You may find some loose stitches. A way to address the loose stitches is to just go ahead and anyway purl them, because afterwards you are going to see what I mean. You will need some loose stitches there. I give up with the English way and will continue the continental way, because that's how I do it more easily and quickly. And I purl to the last stitch of the row. Now I have to work another row, a knit row this time, because it's stockinette stitch we are doing here. This is very familiar to you, of course. That is row 3 in your pattern, in the second page of the clue. As you can see, my needles are straight because all my circulars are busy right now holding other UFOs, you know, unfinished objects. threads. I'm sorry for the noises. My husband keeps sending me text messages in the Hangouts, and I should turn them off, but he's at work and he needs something, so, well, thank you for your patience. So I worked row 3 and now I'm going to work row 4, but this time the pattern says purl each stitch of this row with its equivalent from row 1. Which row is row 1? It's this row. It's the first row we created when we cast on, when we worked these stitches. That's why I am using a different color, so that you can see which row is row 1. It's very easy to see it here. The yellows are the stitches of the last row of this part, and the reds are the first row of the red part, which means that my needle has to go through this stitch and this stitch at the same time and purl them together. So how do I do that? What I like to do is first bring the yarn forward to make sure it's a purl row. You know, I have to purl, so my yarn has to be here. And then I lift the bar of this stitch from the first row and place it beside the stitch I'm going to work, and then purl them both together. See why I wanted the stitches to be quite loose? Then I lift the bar of the second stitch and place it on my needle, and then I purl those two together, and so on until I have worked all the stitches of this row. It's very useful to have a loose gauge here, because this will help us lift these bars, these stitches of from row 1, and place them here and create this band. What would I call this? I would call this a band. A band. It's really a band. A stripe. No, it's not a stripe exactly. It is not a stripe. Anyway, as you can see, I've come to the easy part. Because of the yellow yarn here, I can see that I have to work this stitch. I believe it's quite clear now, and very easy too, because it's very easy to see which strand of yarn I've got to lift and place and this is how it looks on one side, and this is how it looks on the other side. I hope it's easy and clear for you. And if you have anything to ask me, please do so on the Ravelry thread we have created for this knit along. Happy knitting to you all. You are receiving your clues tomorrow or tonight maybe. I hope you like this pattern as much as I do. Have fun.